Set our levels. All right, we are live, everybody. Here we go. I'm going to start playing the intro. 3. Set our levels. 2. All right, we are live. Oh gosh, that's bad.
Everybody.
Here we go. The stream.
That's not what you want to hear at the very beginning.
Sorry.
FYI.
I'm trying. I have so many windows open right now.
Normal.
Well, at least we're recording all this audio, so we have something to do for bloopers. Am I right?
Happens to everybody.
Yep. All right, I am ready. Here we go. Intro in 3, 2, 1.
What's happening?
Time for songs.
Take this time to consider your past deeds.
Stop asking questions. You had your chance. Let the games begin.
Greetings, visionaries. Welcome to Velen's Chosen, a podcast geared for buffing games of budget players. We exist to help them stay competitive on the ladder every season and just a little bit higher than the last one, no matter what their card pool. Today, we have the might of Dalaran himself, Ronan, to join us on the podcast. So let's hear what he has to say.
The might of Dalaran has arrived.
And by Ronan, I actually mean Mr. KRUPS himself. So today we have Eve Martin,
Hi.
Andrew Brown,
What's going on?
and the KRUPS Master.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up? What's up?
Yay!
So
Thanks for coming.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's give our listeners just a brief background on KRUPS before we kind of interview him real quick and kind of get you the downloads. So he's kind of here to help us discuss one of the hardest topics to really discuss without a pro player in reality, which is burnout. So we're going to talk a lot on this show about burnout, especially with a pro. And KRUPS is a pro, at least on ladder, because he's hit legend at least 12 times, if not more. And prides himself with deck building, and he's a Hearthstone employee that is in charge of some featuring decks on their website. So, KRUPS, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself here?
Let's see. I started playing Hearthstone. I played it briefly in beta, and then I was still playing competitive Magic the Gathering, and I kind of didn't like the game at first. And then, once Naxxramas came out and there were like more cards, I started to enjoy it a little bit more. And then I started playing it really seriously, and I put down Magic, and I started playing Hearthstone. I guess like quote unquote full time is like my only game. I don't really play anything else. Except when we get to Burnout. Occasionally it is good to play. Occasionally it is good to play something else. But yeah, I stream on Twitch. I write for Hearthstone. I play in a lot of tournaments. I made it to the last call last year of the World Championship. And
No small
let's
feat.
see. I think my highest ladder ever is like 27 on NA.
That's really high.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick
really
question:
lucky
how
that
did you
month.
get there? And that
Aggro
one
Druid,
time.
Then
Okay.
top decked a lot of innervates on turn 7 so I could combo them then and there.
That's how the story of ladder is kind of going for a lot of players right now, with
Yeah.
Innervate being on top notch.
Yeah. I think that's the best card in the game. If I had to like pick one.
Okay.
It's just like cheating. It's just it really is.
When you're up against a druid player, yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah, it's like wait a minute,
Cheating.
what, this guy's 2 turns ahead of me. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's me. So
All right. What do you do on Hearthstone? Like
I do
specifically?
deck features. Usually when if I feel like I've done something or made something that's really cool in ladder, and I'm playing it on ladder, I will write a guide and then maybe write like 1,500 words or so, and then write mulligan strategy and stuff like that, just to be like, hey, I hit like 250 legend with this. This is cool. I did that with the Tempo Mage deck that played Ronan. Speaking of him earlier,
Hype.
like, yeah, I really wanted that card to be good, and it's really just not.
Did you?
I tried to be really ambitious with that one and put Thorson, Ronin, and Archmage, and like Effigy all in the same deck.
Oh my
Dang.
word.
So like, you know, like the Ronin would die, and then you would get the arcane missiles, and then like the Effigy would trigger, and then you know it was, and then like your Thorson would reduce the cost of all the arcane missiles, and I pulled it off a couple times, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, Ronin's such a cool card, but I actually saw a Deck Doctor I can't talk. A Deck Doctor video. You know how Zalay and Firebat have been doing this for a couple weeks now, where they just
Sure.
take donations and then say, hey, put your deck in the feed and we'll edit the deck and make it better, and then they play it like 2 or 3 games. And so he played this deck that's kind of like a Ronin variation, and the short of it is he gets Ronin on the field, gets all of his arcane missiles. He already has one in hand and has a Sorceress Apprentice on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously 0 mana. Drops freaking Malygos, top decks another arcane missiles, and kills his opponent in 1 turn with
Oh, wow.
5 arcane missiles in hand. It was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It
Not
was
too
so
shabby.
cool.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah. So yeah, because each arcane missiles represented 8 damage, relatively.
Yeah, that's crazy. For free.
Yep, for free. All right. So Eve, Andrew, do you guys have any other questions? Get to know KRUPS a little bit more before we move forward.
Well, what got you? Why did you really enjoy Hearthstone from the beginning? I mean, to say for somebody who's not employed or makes their living, we do all have this like propensity towards different games. So the whole like this is my full-time game, that's actually applicable to all of us. Like, oh yeah, I'm part-time with Mario, part-time with this, but why Hearthstone?
Mario.
I played Magic forever. Like I played. Well, let's see. I played Magic when I was like. I started playing Magic when I was like 16, and then like I was on the Pro Tour for a little
color?
bit when I was 19, and then I took a 7-year break
Jeez.
and didn't play, and then like I came back, and then I was on the Star City Games Invitational circuit for a little while, and then honestly I got really burnt out on traveling for Magic, and then like you have to constantly travel to play Magic.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly as convenient. And the online component for Magic is just awful. Magic Online, if any of you guys have played it, it's really, really bad. And,
I've heard nothing but awful things.
I was playing Magic Online. What was it in 2014? And I was like top 40 in constructed, and I just got so frustrated with the new client. And I was like, I'm going to try Hearthstone. I was like, I'm going to try to do this instead. I had other like guys that were playing it, and they're just like, dude, you really need to check out this game. It was just 100 times more convenient than playing Magic.
Sure.
Yet my skill set from Magic was very applicable to Hearthstone. So
Absolutely.
there were some things that took me a long time to get. And there are still some things that I'm still not that good at. I still think I'm a much better Magic player than I am a Hearthstone player.
Which for those Magic players who are listening, which color did you play with?
Pretty much any variation of red, white, green, red, white, red, green.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would say that Hearthstone is a game that cannot really be translated into paper cards, but Magic the Gathering is, so it's kind of got that one locked down.
Yeah.
But they definitely didn't put as much work into the online client as Hearthstone did. So
The mechanics also, a lot of the mechanics just really don't translate well to playing it on a computer. Because it's like when you're playing Magic, you can kind of just like you can skip phases and stuff that just aren't necessary for that specific situation. Where if you're actually playing like by the book, you have to play like by the book online to make sure everything's covered.
Right.
And it can just like, like when you're playing Magic paper, you can just be like, okay, I put these 20 things on the stack. Where if you're on your computer, you have to be like, okay, okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Wait, and it's interesting because they came out with several iterations of Magic for Xbox, and it seemed to be at least fairly successful. I mean, my experience was it was pretty clunky still, even on there, but somehow they made quite a bit of money, at least enough to guarantee or to warrant several, different versions of it.
Yeah, I saw those. It was like what, like the Duel of the Planeswalkers thing.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, I think I played that like once at like a buddy's house.
I think Magic players wanted it to work a lot.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we really
That makes
love
sense.
Magic the Gathering, and you really want what people
But,
make to
yeah.
work. But yeah,
Another thing about Magic players too is that most Magic players prefer to play on paper. I think only like 1% of people that play Magic play online.
yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, because Magic's like a social thing.
Yep.
It's good.
All right. So let's
wanna have
transition
the
back into Hearthstone. What do you feel like are your decks that you know the best? Let's go not full time, but more of what decks do you feel like you specialize in within Hearthstone currently?
Tempo Mage and Mech Mage.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Aggro Druid as well. Yeah, Tempo Mage, Mech Mage, Aggro Druid. Face Hunter if you can specialize in that.
Yeah.
Um
It's tough
But-
nowadays. I actually casted a game that is it 6-0? No, it's Chalky. Chalky
Yeah.
was playing Face Hunter in Tuesday Night Hype 56.
yeah.
He put a freaking arcane shot in his deck.
Yeah.
I have never seen that in a Face Hunter deck.
Yeah, that was played like in old Face Hunter lists. Like
pre-Nax.
like pre TGT, like post. Yeah, like maybe like pre BlackRock.
Yeah.
It was
yeah,
like
okay.
yeah, it was a while ago.
Trying to fine tune the list a little bit more after the Undertaker nerf. I think that's probably what they were swapping in and out.
Yeah, that was actually what happened. They nerfed Undertaker, and people kind of went back to like in beta. Everyone was running the Wolf Riders and all that, and people also played Shield Bearer and Zoo. Though that was a weird time.
Gotcha.
Oh,
That is ridiculous. Shield.
Yeah,
I
you
remember
put it
that.
next to your Wolf, man.
Yep, I remember that.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Who's
I do
yeah,
have
you
my
use
two-
Abusive Sergeant on it, and
Yeah.
what's that one that gives it +1/+1?
Shattered Sun. Clan.
Shattered Sun.
Yeah, Shadow Sun
the
Cleric.
cleric.
Yep.
Play the cleric. Yeah.
I do
I
still
remember
have
that.
my 2 golden shield bearers that are just waiting to be useful.
Yeah.
So
It'll never
one of
happen,
these days
Andrew.
they'll come back. One
Well,
of
if there's anything Mysterious Challenger taught us, it's that any bad card can become useful because
It's true.
I actually disenchanted all my Paladin secrets prior to that card. I was like, these will
my
I was like,
gosh.
these will never be playable. Thank goodness they were all commons.
And
but,
then
like,
Life
I was
Coach
gonna
plays
say, it
Eye
would've
for an
been
Eye in a
easy to-
tournament.
To
Yeah.
make them. The mage secrets are not all commons, but yeah,
Yeah.
pretty easy to make up the paladin ones if you disenchanted them.
yeah.
You must have really hated them though, because you get like what, 5 dust?
Yeah. I
Is
just
that
didn't
even
want,
really worth it?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I just needed something.
That's true.
All right, guys. You ready to talk about burnout?
Sure.
All right,
Burnt
so I'm actually
out.
going to let Andrew lead into the burnout discussion because he's in that stage right now.
Yeah. So I actually decided to take a break from Hearthstone. So I think I've got one more week that I told myself, man, I'm just gonna stop and I'll stay close as far as like maybe some Twitch watching, some YouTube videos and stuff. So I'm not like completely out of it altogether, but as far as like playing every day, grinding on the ladder, I just decided to say I'm gonna throw on the e-brake. I'm gonna stop for a while.
We're going to drift out of this.
Yeah, but really what led into that was, I've been playing pretty hard since Naxxramas released. That's when I first got into it. And it quickly became kind of similarly like the only game that I'll play outside of, something else every now and then. But I think that I got to the point where I couldn't do what I wanted to do on the ladder, and the results I was getting from day to day were just less than I'd hoped. And I found myself, just getting probably more furious at this little game on my phone than anything because I just don't get angry, but man, the fury of 1,000 suns comes through my heart and my mouth when
The Fury of Sulfuron!
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
Really, when I step back and look at it, it's like, okay, this is stupid. This game should not be doing that to me, So that's kind of where it all came from. But I don't know. You even said yourself, KRUPS, that you've come into that place quite a few times. Can you tell us about how you've experienced just I'm done with this, or I need to take a break, or whatever that looks like for you?
I haven't experienced like superb burnout with this game yet. I like, but I'm to be honest, it's like my computer's been screwed up the past week, and I've had to completely wipe it, and like it's been kind of nice, because I play
Yeah.
so much. So I've gotten kind of like a little like
Forced
unplanned break
vacation?
from it this week. But I know that like burnout's why I quit playing Magic originally, and burnout is kind of one of the reasons I started playing Hearthstone because I was burnout on the other game. But as far as dealing with it goes, you just, oh man, you just don't like. Sometimes I'll boot up Rocket League,
There you
and
go.
like play that because that game's super casual, and it really isn't though because ranked play is nuts. I'm actually literally at the literal bottom of Rocket League ladder. So
Oh.
maybe when I go and play, like I'm like
me too.
actually like the equivalent of rank 25 because I'm just like so bad at the game. So
Gotcha.
maybe I just feel better about Hearthstone when I go. I'm like, hey,
At least I'm good at this.
yeah, it could be. I could just be playing Rocket League all the time and just be terrible. But yeah, I think if you start to get mad, definitely maybe just like take a break because, it's like poker players go on tilt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you get like I know when I get upset, like I tend to be an emotional guy, like maybe more emotional than most people. And I know that like when I get upset, like it will like affect me in my everyday life, Like I wear my heart on my some people wear their heart on their sleeve more than others. So sometimes it's good to just take a break. Go do something else,
Sure, and I
Go to the
think it's
bar,
really
drink a beer, man. Like
not even gaming. I guess you
Yeah.
could call that gaming in a weird sense, but I think it's interesting that right now during this season of the game, it seems like players are more frustrated with the game and yet having more fun at the same time than any other time that we've seen. I mean, the game is so varied. There are so many different viable decks right now, which allows players to be able to do more in line with what they want to do. So there were times when Paladin was so irrelevant that even if Paladin was your favorite
It's where
deck, it was
Shaman
like,
is right now.
yeah, Shaman. Well, even
Don't
aggro
say that,
Shaman.
aggro
kinda brought it-
Shaman.
yeah, that brought it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So right now, there's at least something viable for almost any style of play, and yet at the same time, because there's so many varied decks, people can't really plan for the ladder. They can't plan for ranked play like they used to. There were times when I remember when I first started playing, all I would see was Zulok on the ladder, and I
Oh my
hated
gosh.
it.
It's
I
like
didn't know what
the
to do.
same as
I didn't-
Paladin.
Yeah, I didn't know how to counter it. And yet back then it was easier to say, okay, you just need to figure out how to counter this so that you can
Right.
grow. And now it's like, man, you just I don't know what you'd even
I just remember all of us saying, man, we were so happy LOE came out because it was getting stale. It was getting boring. We were seeing the exact same decks every time on the ladder. And then this explosion of like everyone using their creativity to make the most amazing decks, and then the
fine-tune
downside of
Secret
that
Paladin.
being you have no idea what you're up against. Like every time you go up against a new class, it's like I have no idea what
Yeah.
this could be, So we got to kind of go, oh, would we like it back the other way? Would we like it that there's like 3, maybe 4 decks that we see on ladder and you know exactly what it is and you know what their next play is going to be? Is that better?
Or are we just
'Cause-
doomed to
yeah.
always complain about this game? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's a
I mean, if you visit
possibility.
Reddit long enough, you
No
just
matter
turn
what.
into them.
That's true.
They can't make us
Yeah.
happy no matter what they do. So I would rather it was this way. I know it's really frustrating for me too because I cannot anticipate what I'm going to come up against and which is the best class to play to try and ladder up. And you can go for a long time against the wrong kind of deck that your deck doesn't do well against, and then you fall and fall and fall. So that's super frustrating. But I still would rather it be this way, be more creative,
More diverse.
and more diverse. Exactly, good word. Then
Yeah.
back to the staleness that it kind of was getting to
Right.
before.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that the game is more fun than it's ever been. Outside of a couple things that I think really need to be fixed, but I don't like Reno or Mysterious Challenger. I don't like these cards with these super powerful battle cries. Like, could you have at least just made it a death rattle? So like, one more thing had to happen before I got destroyed.
Right.
But
Don't you think
You know
though that
what?
like
That's an amazing idea, actually, to make Mysterious Challenger's ability a death rattle.
yeah, if it was a death rattle, that card would be probably fair.
it would be half as broken?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, I like that a lot.
It would basically just be a super-sized mad scientist, is all.
And
Yeah?
Death Rattle cards tend to be more powerful just because there's
They
not a
have to
guarantee.
be
It
removed
can,
from the board.
yeah, it can be silenced, it can be entombed.
Yeah, you
There's
got
a
one
few
more
different
turn
ways.
to
Yeah.
react to it.
Yeah, the only thing that balances those two super powerful cards, as you mentioned, KRUPS, was the fact that they are battle cries, right? And even though the battle cry means that the minion's body has to be weaker significantly than, like, say, a death rattle creature, but not only is that sort of difficult to do because these bodies are large, but like the one of the most powerful cards besides the two you mentioned is Bran. And Bran, it works super well with lots of Warlock decks like Antique Healbots and Earthen Rings and stuff, but like Bran does not give those two cards any more reach than they currently have with their intended abilities. So on Blizzard's part, I think we can praise them at least a little bit with the most broken cards not getting any sort of like 1-2 punch with having a Bran effect with it. You know, can you imagine like
For not making
healing
it
for like
double broken?
70?
Yeah, no, that would be nuts. Yeah, if it pulled out like 12 secrets, you know, with Brandon play.
Now, something I was processing. I even said it earlier that I'm willing to admit that a reason I really got burnt out for a while there was because I wasn't producing the results that I wanted to. You know, I see legend players on Twitch, you know, and it seems like they are always moving forward. They're always, you know, they'll lose every now and
consistent,
then,
yeah.
but they're winning far more games than they're losing. And then I look at my own play, you know, I'm at rank 13 and then I'm going down to 15, you know, and I'll lose it because I can't count the number of times I've said out loud, I'm a better player than this, you know. What's the right because I know that's the wrong perspective, but I'm betting there's a lot of other people out there who can relate to that. What would you recommend as a switch in mindset for how to counter that?
Oh, switch in mindset for that? I mean, so like even a solid legend player at their rank, you're only winning like 65% of your games.
On a good day.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like top 10 legend, top 20, you're winning like 75.
Right.
You're stupid.
Yeah, you're winning. Yeah, but like
You're on a team.
you know, and to be honest, man, I mean, there's tons of seasons where like I've hit legend and like I've peaked at like 50, and then I've lost so many games that like I end in like 4,000, which is like if I could fall out of legend, that would probably be the equivalent of like rank 3.
Sure.
You know, it really, you know, so it's, I don't know, like the way to look at it, I don't know, man. You got to figure out what you're doing wrong.
Sure.
That's like, yeah, you got to figure out what you're doing wrong. I know coaching it helps with some people. Playing decks that you're good at, maybe like sticking to one or two decks for a while and really trying to learn that. You know, I mean, obviously you can like maybe like change a couple cards here and there, but
What do you think about goal setting? Like, that's something we talk about in our show a lot, but it's really hard. One of those things that's like super hard to practice what you preach type thing, right?
okay, just like setting a goal like this season I'll hit rank 5 or something.
Well, it could be simply like rank goals, right? Or it could be I'm going to put, instead of a rank, I'm going to put 100 games on this deck, win or lose. And I'm just going to
I think that's probably good. That's probably good, yeah. I know that repetition of playing the same deck has really helped me. Because I didn't invest much money in the game when I first started playing, and after they nerfed Undertaker, I just played Mech Mage for like 4 seasons. I just hit I just hit Legend with Mech Mage like 4 seasons in a row.
That was in its heyday, though, right? It was like top 2 deck, basically.
It was kind of when people like. It's gone in and out. It's hard to remember. Yeah, but yeah, it was good. It was good. And I think it was bad, and now it's good again because I really like Gorilla Bot.
So Eve,
Gorilla Bot into Gorilla Bot is super fun.
Yeah. Eve, you've played some Mech Mage quite a bit, right?
Yeah, Mech Mage and Tempo Mage were actually my wheelhouse for a while. I didn't have Archmage Antonitis for a very long time, so I had KT in there, which was just
Okay.
super fun.
Yeah, that sounds like it could work. You're gonna play it on the same turn as you're gonna play Archmage.
Yeah, that was pretty much my only legendary that could kind of fit, and I was like, I need a legendary because I don't
Yeah.
have any like
Yeah.
major big tough cards to pull out at the end, and I was coming up against a lot of Ragnaroses,
Mm-hmm.
and I was
I
just
like-
I need to stick something big, something legendary in here to
Yeah.
kind of help my end game, and
It's
that's
like
the only option
tips
I
the
had.
balance
So.
into your favor.
I like
Do we have
KT a lot. I wish that card saw more play. Like that card's so broken. But
I remember the first time I saw it, I thought this is going to destroy the entire game.
Yeah, because
And-
everything was death rattle when it came out. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
lose every game when this thing drops.
You get
Yeah.
it behind a Sledge Belcher, and it is pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
That's why a Black Knight was so good for the longest time up until like BlackRock release. Like Black Knight was almost like staple tech card.
yeah, Black Knight, man, I wish that card was still playable. I mean, it's just
too.
a 4/5 for 6 is just kind of too small.
Yeah. Like the effect just doesn't do enough for it to relevant or to make those stats relevant on turn 6.
Yeah.
Can we spend 60 seconds and just kind of take a left turn, and we can include the chat in this, but I'm thinking about this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think Mechgineer Thermoplug's the only legendary mech. Is that true?
Flame
Oh no,
Leviathan.
Flame Leviathan, and you got Blingtron also.
And the Voltron Memoron's head.
Yeah.
Memron's head.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I'm thinking, what's a kind of legendary mech that could fit into the Mech Mage, because none of those do.
Voltron.
But is there?
So
Yeah.
The Voltron
None of them-
Dream.
none of them really do, but now that we have Gorilla Bot,
It can
I
work.
take Flame Leviathan a lot.
Do you really?
So
Don't you
yeah,
take
because,
Enhancer
like,
too?
it'll
Yeah.
be like your choice will be like it'll be like turn
Oh, yeah.
6, and your choice will be like 2 Dinky Mechs and then like Flame Leviathan, and like you won't have your Dr. Boom or something. So
Yeah, we have Futurist and Aventus in the chat are saying Faux Reaper and Sneeds
Yeah.
as well.
I'm basically an idiot. I can't remember.
yeah,
There's only one mech.
yeah, and see that's also another thing about Gorilla Bot too is that I find myself taking Faux Reaper and Sneeds too.
Faux
Because,
Reaper's
like, most of those
good.
cards are- Yeah, but like all those cards like aren't good enough to make the cut in your actual deck, but
Right.
But
they
if you
can
discover them-
totally swing a game if you get
Yeah.
one off of a Gorilla Bot.
Yeah.
So they do see play, technically.
Okay, so I have to bring this up because I was hanging out in KRUPS' stream a couple weeks ago. Ironically, unintentionally, making a racist comment, I might add. But that's just more for blooper listeners than for you to actually know what I said. But
For sure.
he was like you were looking at some Mech Mage stuff, right? We were looking at like how to tweak it, and I mentioned the legendary LeBron's James, right?
Yeah, yeah,
LeBron's
yeah.
beard, as it were.
Yeah, I would put it in the deck, and like it was good, but it was also I felt like it was a little too ambitious because it was like all the battle cry triggers in Mech Mage are contingent on actually having a mech in play. So it was like you had to have the mech in play, and then you had to have the battle cry card, and you had to have LeBron in play.
Right.
LeBron's
LeBron's beard.
Yeah.
You talking
LeBron
about
James.
brand?
I live in Florida, so he's a very, popular guy around here. But yeah, it just seemed a little too ambitious. But like, man, when you like play a blast mage and get to do 8 random damage, it's like crazy.
Machine Gun Mage.
Yeah.
OP.
Or even a Tinkertown technician and getting 2 spare parts and making
And
it
the
a
Gorilla
5/5.
Bots too, right?
Yeah.
Man, I
I
wanna
feel like
make
there
Mech
probably
Mage
is
now.
a way to put that card in the deck, but it became a matter of what do I cut.
Yeah, you kind of have to either figure out like what not. I think you said it had to come down to. It's tough because most of the battle cry that benefits from having mechs are non-mechs. So in essence, Bran is basically replacing a card that Bran wants to help. So for instance, you have to
Yeah.
cut like a Tinkertown 1 out of 2 in order to play like a Bran, so that the 1 gets better. As it's
Yeah.
really strange.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that goes to another thing. Hold on one second. My alarm is going off on my iPad. All right, there we go.
Gotta solve that.
That's the last alarm. That's the like, hey dude, you have to get out of bed before noon if you want to be a semi-functioning
coming.
adult alarm. So Yeah, that was what I was say too. Like I really wish they would like bump it up to 40 cards. I wish we could play 40 card decks.
Oh man.
Even if it was like an alternative way to play, but they'd have to do it like at the dawn of a new yearly season. You know what I mean? They'd have
Yeah,
to like
so
institute
They
two
could make it a
things.
new type, you know, like how we have arena and we have brawl and we have ladder. They could have a different what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like a mode, as it were,
Yeah,
right?
like a different mode where you could play 40.
Yeah.
40
Yeah,
cards.
and maybe they could like, or they could just try it out in Brawl, because I feel like
Yeah.
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 the real purpose of Brawl in this game is for them to kind of almost
Like make players guinea pigs.
yeah, it's like a
Yes.
it's like a live, it's like a 25 million person beta test for the
Yeah.
is.
I agree.
We saw Summoning
Yeah.
Stone. We
They're
saw
sneaky.
another card. There was another card in LOE that was from a Tavern Brawl, wasn't it?
Like, how broken would this be if we made it a card kind of deal, and then
Yeah.
watch what happens in Brawl?
Yeah,
The Mechazod 2-player Brawl was really fun.
yeah, they've
Yeah.
been testing that twice now.
Man,
I'm hoping that's a good sign for things to come.
that one was hard. Did you guys have a
Mhm.
hard time beating that
The
one?
Druid Mage
Oh, yeah.
one or the
Oh, yeah.
Priest Paladin one?
The Priest Paladin one.
I never
okay,
beat that.
I've missed like 3 Tavern Brawls.
Well, there's one right now
Well,
that
it's
you can
like
still do. That's
communication, right?
the Mage
If you
one.
don't have communication, it makes it extremely hard. But if you
Yeah.
do have communication,
But,
then
I
it's a
mean-
lot easier.
I was on Skype with another guy who averages 8 wins in Arena, and we lost like 4 times before we beat him.
Well, it was hard, I think, because it takes a totally different mindset from the typical games. I mean, you can look at Low Arcacho and Grove Tender and stuff like that and say, oh, this is actually helpful for both of us. But the way that Mechazod works for his turns, you have to figure that out in order to
Yeah.
know, oh, crap, he could kill us this
Yeah.
next turn.
It
so
functioned
if
more
we don't
like an
heal, we're
adventure
gone.
that way.
Yeah.
There was a lot of crazy RNG in that one too. That was pretty unpredictable. You're like, okay, Mechazod might just totally kill everything right here.
Yeah.
And then,
The one game that we won, or that I won with Mechazod, I never beat the Paladin Priest, but I jumped into the Druid thing, and the only way we won is because Mechazod took his turn to kill the highest attack minion. If
Yeah.
he had dealt his attack to
You were
both of us, we
toast.
would have been gone. So
Yeah,
that
you-
was just luck. It's kind of the heroic mode sort of thing, you know?
yeah, you won the dice. Yeah, that's another thing too. I haven't really messed around with heroic too much because like I don't really care about card backs. I didn't do the Tavern Brawl during Christmas. I don't have the Christmas card back,
Oh, that one was
so
pretty.
sad.
and I'll never have it.
Oh, well.
Mm.
Oh well. And like, I remember thinking about it. It was like 11:30 at night on like the last day, and I was playing ladder, and I was just like, I should really do the Tavern Brawl, and then I just like queued up in another ladder game. Just, you know.
Oh man, I am such a completionist. That would have upset
me
me
too.
so bad.
Yeah.
I got the heroic card backs as soon as I possibly could.
Yeah.
So,
I
let's-
DE all my gold cards. I don't really.
You don't need them.
I just want to win. I want to win the games. That's it.
I
Hey,
just want to
to-
win.
To bring it back to
Yeah.
Burnout real quick, and we
Yeah.
can probably move on from there, but one thing I did want to reiterate that you said, KRUPS, was like keeping it consistent on 1 or 2 decks or something like that. We had talked about how that's the big mistake I made last month, is I literally probably played 20 different decks within the month.
It was
and expected
awful.
to just be good at all of them all at once. And something I realized lately was my very first golden portrait was Warrior. I've probably played Warrior more than any other deck in the game. And so this next season, I'm really going to go into it and say, you know what, instead of trying to up my wins with portraits that I don't have golden, which is typically what I try to do, I'm going to forget all about that. I'm just going to stick with Warrior, and that's going to be my primary means of going up, because I know that
That's a
deck
good
and
plan.
probably have a better chance with it more than any other,
That
as
could
long
work.
as it's somewhat viable.
Yeah.
Warrior's still really good. Control Warrior's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that new Elise and then the Fibonacci Control Warrior, and then there's a Dragon Warrior that I've been playing to a lot of
Yeah.
success, and that's so fun. You can run Ren Blackhand. So dope. And a Nixia? Like, who plays a Nixia? What the heck?
Yeah.
I
Do
don't
we
know.
even know what Fibonacci looks like? He doesn't stream.
He's a
There's
number.
He's a
Like,
number
I
in the
feel-
Legend Crystal.
It's just like a bot. It's like,
He's like this
Blizzard's
guy's toast.
Fibonacci's like really like Blizzard's like control warrior bot.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like an AI.
Just hit random in your control warrior list.
It's like, yeah, it's just like a super advanced Hearthstone AI. No, I mean,
Well, it can't be a Hearthstone AI because they're really dumb.
yeah, yeah. Obviously he's a real person.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's not ruffle any more feathers. Go
Yeah.
for- Let's talk
He
about.
doesn't stream. I think that's one of the reasons why he's so good, though.
Oh yeah.
Because like he can't get sniped.
Yep.
Which I know that that's like an issue for like other really good players. Like, I know I've talked to like VLPS about that, and like Death
No, that's something I haven't thought about. Is it like, having a football player go into the other team's dressing room and watch their plays as they set them up?
Oh yeah,
It's
big
like-
streamers get sniped all the time. My stream's not even big, and I get sniped every now and then. Like,
Huh.
Dang.
So
And
the
some
pros
people
come and
have
sit and
to-
watch your stream and then like figure out the way you play, your strategy,
they get to see
or
your hand.
Yeah.
oh, you're talking straight up cheating.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
sniping.
sniping.
Ghosting
Okay, I was
is
just
like,
talking
different.
about like learning the player's
No,
mindset
like,
and getting into their head and figuring out the way they play and strategy and stuff.
Yeah.
I was not thinking about straight up cheating. Okay,
Yeah,
that sucks.
no, like a lot of times, like you'll see hot form stream with a delay on.
Right.
They'll stream, like there'll be like a 10 or 15 minute delay. So like, at least if they did get any information, it was very minimal. But yeah, like the normal Twitch delay is only like 15 seconds. So it's like,
Yeah.
you can be like, oh, this guy's holding fireball. I'll play
That
this
sucks.
creature first, so he fireballs up. It's like you can get sniped. And Fibonacci, like I think he's kind of like on the record being like, yeah, I don't stream because I don't want people to be able to see my hand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so going back to try to finish up our burnout discussion, we kind of danced a little bit of it because burnout isn't something you can fill like a full episode with, so we wanted to basically mention it as a big thing, right? Like I think we're all in agreement burnout is a very real thing. It drove you out of MTG and into HS. It's this is one thing that I was thinking about recently, but people don't necessarily get burned out of a game because A, they're bad, or B, that they've played too many games and then they start tilting. You know what I mean? Those are some of the more common culprits of burnout. But for me, the common burnout is actually either one or two things: is burning out from playing too much, which is a completely relative term because too much is different for everyone. And then the other thing is just even winning too many games is enough to burn me out in the sense that it puts a fear into me, like once I hit rank 5 or something, like I don't want to keep going because I've just gotten a 10 win streak, and like once I've won 10 games, it's like I want to end so that I don't go on a 3-game lose streak and then tilt.
I feel you.
I know.
I'm starting to
can
understand you because at
I
first
can
I was
relate
like,
to that.
winning?
Like, I get like that when I'm like, if I get into like top 100, I'm like, should I just like hold top 100? Should I just like only play a game, like, because you decay when you're at Legend, like, should I just like only play a game after like I decay a little bit, or like should I push, and then you just always regret pushing.
Aw.
Every time.
Yeah, every time. I know you guys mentioned Cora earlier. Like, I know she set it number 3 for like 10 days or something. Like
decayed to like 10.
And then she's like, I'm gonna go for number 1, KRUPS. I'm gonna do it. And I was just like, don't do it. I was like, don't be a hero. Don't do it. And then
She dropped to like 200.
Yeah, lo and behold. I was just like, just be happy that you're number 3. Like, that's like,
For me, since I've never hit Legend, after Blizzard did the change where they give you the reward for getting higher in your rank, that kind of took away the fear for me. Because before I was like, where I drop down to, and that's going to affect where I start next month. But now it's like, it's still going to save my highest rank that I got, and I'm going to get a reward for that rank, so there's no reason for me not to try and push to get as high as I can. Yeah.
I think the
best
chests
reward.
were a great idea.
We're gonna pull one more question from chat because it's really good. From our friend of the show, Vincent says, this is what's burning me out: being bored of facing the same deck the most often, aka like when Undertaker Hunter was a thing, or Secret Paladin, or Zoo Warlock. You're playing against that deck and the bulk of your games is close to 50% is a lot of seeing one particular deck, especially if it's only one deck and archetype, right?
But that's not really happening right now, is it? Like,
Uh,
I don't know
it
what it
is.
is in the
A lot
legend
of
ranks.
Secret Paladin.
A lot of Secret Paladin, a lot of Druid, like they're everywhere.
Yeah, especially like at the beginning of the season when people are trying to like ladder up really quick. Like,
And all I see is Face Hunter.
yeah, that's
Like, that's it.
yeah,
Maybe it's because I'm down at like rank. When I start, I'm down at like rank 13 and 14, and I stay there for a while. But I just see constant Face Hunter.
yeah. My problem is like I'll get to like rank 5 on like day 2, and then like I might get up to like rank 2, and then I always fall back, and then I don't ever hit legend until like the middle of the month.
Yeah.
That's like one of these days I'm gonna hit legend on like the 3rd day of the season, and I'm gonna feel really good about myself. But I just can't seem to do it, and that's frustrating me because I have all these guys on my friends list that are like really good and they're like better than me. Like I don't think I'm that good because I know all the people that are way better than me, and I just see it and I'm just like.
Every time you log in and like
Yeah, I'm
all
just
your
like,
friends
damn
are
it,
there, ranked
VLPS,
there.
like you, or like D-Wayne, like VLPS and D-Wayne are just like top 10 like every month, and I'm just like, it's like I love you guys, but I hate you too. Like you guys are my buddies.
It gives
but I
me a
hate
little bit of incentive to kind of push a little bit when
Yeah,
I
for
log on
sure.
and I see
Yeah.
Andrews up there at like rank 5, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta push
Yeah.
harder. I gotta try
Make it
harder.
competitive, yeah.
And I will say, Vincent, the one thing like that I'll do if I'm coming up against the same deck is look at what counters that. I almost take it as a challenge that, okay, 70% of my games in the past couple of days have been Secret Pally, so you can do the research. I'm looking at the Tempo Storm meta report, and you got Freeze Mage, Control Pally, and Aggro Shaman that are great, counters against Secret Pally. So go with one of those decks and just annihilate them. Use
Right.
it to your advantage to do something different.
Yeah.
There's also the
That's
tech
something I like
card
that.
option too, right? Like
Yes.
that's probably something that we can use to avoid burnout again, because we need to stick with the 1 to 2 to 3 decks that we're going to play for a given season and just tech the cards in that we're going to play.
Couple Kazan Mystics.
Well, like that's the thing with Secret Paladin is it doesn't have a clearly defined tech card that helps you deal with them.
You really don't want to steal any of those secrets too. They're all kind of bad on their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Like they're
Maybe
really only
mind
good
control.
like.
Unless you're playing Hunter and you can put some flair in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see that's the thing. Yeah, you can do flare, but
You have to draw it.
And I see Vincent say it's not about beating him, it's about facing him, and I get that. It's like you almost get bored having to counter the same things every single time, and there's really no workaround against that. I mean, if that's the case, then it's kind of okay, can I find some friends to play casual with? Can I, jump into Tavern Brawl?
Yeah, that is definitely one thing that I've done with just like buddies, that are just even other competitive players. You just like hop up in a private game and throw a bunch of Matter Bombers and Blinktrons and like Morgar the Orgers and just like I've got like a mage build that just literally has all the RNG cards in it, all the battle, like it plays Recombobulators and
I love that card.
Wow.
yeah,
I wanted that card to work so much.
yeah, so it's sometimes it's cool to get a buddy and just make up some really weird decks and play casual,
I think the thing you just have to have the awareness of is if ladder is burning you out, then you need to walk away from it. Probably the definition of insanity is doing the same thing multiple times and expecting different results. So
yeah.
All right,
Find
let's
the
take
fun
some
again.
emails.
I might be insane, Andrew.
oh really?
You might, yeah. You may have just like made me learn something about myself.
The deeper meanings on Velen's Chosen. Tune in
Yeah.
next week.
We like to go deep here on this show.
Yeah.
All right, so KRUPS, would you like to read our first or actually I have to read our first email. It has to do with an image. So
I haven't seen this actually. Do you?
I
have it somewhere?
I have it on the Google Drive, but basically Jamie says this. All right, guys, I found something you might appreciate. I worked on a ring production company, so I see a lot of kids rings and stuff that they put on the engravings and all that. And I found a screenshot that's a personalization I found in a ring. No last names, but shout out to Elena rocking this cool ring. So basically, it's a little purchase order statement of like what you want to have
Oh, I
its
see it
say
now.
on it, and it says "Not all who wander are lost" because it's a C.S. Lewis quote, not just something that Velen says when he's played. But he said it was really cool and reminded me of you guys of the show and wanted to send that in. So thank you so
I
much.
didn't
for that.
realize that was a C.S. Lewis quote.
It is, yeah.
It is. Yep.
I got a degree in writing. That's very. I feel terrible right now.
You should know your C.S. Lewis. Yeah.
yeah.
KRUPS is going on tilt for writing now.
Yeah.
Go read some books.
All right. So we have an email from Spider Guy Zero. Let's let KRUPS read this one, just because.
All right, this is from Spider Guy Zero. Let's see. Hey guys and gal. First off, love the podcast. I always look forward to the cast each week, so me and my coworkers can talk about it afterwards. I was just wondering if you think the HS will ever follow MTG/other card games idea of the sideboard. Then he describes what a sideboard is, which is basically you have a small additional amount of cards that you bring in on a second game of the match, and you can swap cards in and out. So I really wish they would. Oh, I see. Also, thanks, guys. Do you ever think we'll see Death Knight and Monks in the future? I'll let someone else answer that question because I never played WoW.
Okay.
So
But
I
the
don't
sideboard
know.
question is good for you because you
Yeah,
play
I don't
Magic
know
the Gathering
anything
a lot.
about Death Knights and Monks, but I really hope they bring sideboards, and I would definitely like to see sideboards become a thing in tournaments, even if they were small sideboards, like even like 5 cards. It would be cool to have a sideboard that had something like Mind Control Tech, Black Knight, Kezan Mystic.
Even if you just wanted to put 2 Kezans in there in case you run up against Freeze, right?
Yeah, if you have a bad matchup against Freeze Mage, have 2 Kezan Mystics in your sideboard. It would have to change the way we do ladder. We would have to start doing best out of 3 matches on ladder, which is also something that I think would be cool.
What if they did it for
Especially for legend players.
like tournaments as opposed to ladder?
Yeah, it would be cool for tournaments. I think it would be good for I would like it for tournaments and ladder. Like if you played game 1 of your ladder match, and then after game 1, it gave you 75 seconds in between game 2 and 3, and you could swap your cards out and then play a game.
Are you
3.
assuming against the same person?
Yeah, against the same person. And then
Yeah,
you would
that
play-
wouldn't happen though on ladder because then you're assuming one person is going to stick around for 3 games.
Right.
Well, no, we're saying they'd have to
Well,
change
they
it
would
to
they would
that.
have to.
So they'd have to change the
Yeah.
whole ladder approach altogether, like
Yeah,
best
they would
of
have
5.
to change the entire ladder approach altogether.
So
Yeah,
it fits a little better into tournament mode, I think.
yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
fits better into tournaments, and I think that
Even arena.
right now, there kind of is a little bit of a sideboard strategy to tournaments because when you're doing Conquest, whoever wins has to play the same deck, and the loser has to switch decks. So then, you have the option to switch into a deck that has a good matchup. So it's good to have a well-rounded lineup of, however many decks, depending if it's best out of 3, 5, or 7, depending on the tournament. So, it's like if you're going to be playing against Druid again because your opponent won with it, you could play X deck that has a
Right.
good win rate against Druid.
Right.
I would like to see sideboards. Will they ever do it?
I thought Conquest was if you
they
won
won't
with the
even
deck,
give
you
us
weren't allowed to
deck
play with
slots.
it again.
What?
I thought Conquest was if you win with the deck, you're not allowed to play with it again.
He was talking
Yeah.
about last year standing. It would
Yeah,
be really
okay.
good for
I
that
meant to
format.
say last year of standing.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Conquest, yes. So
I think it's
Death Knights
inevitable
and
for the
Monks,
tournament mode.
it's definitely been something they've asked to Blizzard about before, and so far we haven't heard anything that they're planning on doing that because it would be really hard to balance 2 more classes. And
Plus,
come
give
on.
like more basic cards, and then they'd have
they
to.
each have their own identity, and
But come on.
I know it would be super exciting. I think it's a lot more likely that they would be coming out as cards. Like Death Knights would be cards. They might be, you know how
Warlock
like
cards or
mechs
something.
are a class.
But come on.
yeah.
And pandas.
Okay.
Look,
Here's
you go
here's
ahead.
the problem with introducing new classes is that let's say even if they did it, and let's say we got an expansion that was I don't know, like how many class specific cards are there in a class? Like how many new cards would they have? They would have to make like
They'd have to make something to basically bring them up to speed with having 3 expansions plus 2 card like expansions like in the neutral set and like opening packs type
Yeah,
expansions.
which I think that wouldn't be the problem. I think the problem would be being able to do that without severely warping the metagame.
True, because then everybody wouldn't play. Like my biggest thing as
It
to
would be
why they
nothing
would
but
never
that-
do it was because one
Yeah.
new thing would come in and everyone would play that. They wouldn't play other classes. You have like
It would
9
be
options or 10 options, and they're
Well-
playing 1 out of 10.
Well, here's one way of looking at it, and you could speak to this, Rob, is that with Smash Brothers, they've introduced new characters, and it kind of has been that, right? When Ryu came out, everyone wants to play Ryu. When
He's
Cloud came out,
freaking broken, by the way.
everyone wants to play Cloud.
Same
so,
thing in
Yeah,
Heroes of the
Ryu
Storm. Every time they bring out a
Yeah.
new character, everyone plays that character. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that that's going to be true no matter what. So either they use that as not as an excuse, but as a barrier, which Blizzard doesn't seem to be the kind of company to say, no, we can't do that. They always tend to find the C way that we can't, necessarily think of instead of A or B. The one thing I want to say is that Ben Brode recently said that they were working on Tavern Brawl while Hearthstone was still in beta. So I would not be surprised at all if from the very, very beginning they said, we're going to have a class, we're going to have every class represented in Hearthstone. And then at some point they said, hey, we've got these 9 down. These 2, we've got an idea for what we want to do, but how cool would it be to introduce those later on? And I even thought that once they started doing double portraits for each, which eventually they'll have a second, hero for each class, that once they fill that out, then to come out with, okay, now we've got a brand new class, because from a business perspective, it just makes sense that, hey, we can get people to buy these first, and then we're going to come out with something brand new rather than the reverse. And then in that case, if they have been thinking about Death Knight and Monk from the beginning, when Goblins vs. Gnomes came out, they were probably thinking about cards for it. And they were probably, if you go to Amaz's stuff, he's actually come up with some cool concepts on both classes, and he's come out with each expansion with ideas for cards. I would be really surprised if Blizzard wasn't doing something way better than that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's exactly right, Andrew. Like I think Blizzard is always, they're all about doing something that the community wants to do. They also have no boundaries. They want to do stuff that's piloting new areas. But they also said they don't want to be bound by the Warcraft universe necessarily, right? Like they made TGT a entirely different WoW reference that was
And
not
League
in the
of
game.
Explorers,
And League of
yeah.
Explorers.
Yeah, those were okay. So, as somebody doesn't know anything about WoW, so both of those things were in WoW, but they were like very minor things.
Well, TGT was like, it was in WoW, but then it wasn't like canon. It was like, we're picking up where it left off. So it's a brand new thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Like
There was
And
a
League of
tournament that
Explorers,
actually
like
happened.
Brand Bronzebeard is in World of Warcraft.
at least Starseeker is in
But-
Warcraft, but that's
Yeah.
it.
But the storyline
but
is
all of
original.
the storyline and everything was completely created from scratch.
for the
those
card
things
game.
were-
Yeah.
Yes, for the card game.
Okay.
Like Oldemon is an actual location in WoW, but that's like they're basically using pieces of WoW and they're making their own puzzle.
I think they're
think that-
keeping the same flavor, but
Yeah,
they're making new things. Yeah.
That's good, because the thing is like, I mean, if they're going to release an expansion every 3 months, they'll just run out of WoW stuff.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know.
And
I don't
like
know.
there's enough-
There are a ton of
Yeah.
WoW dungeons and a ton of WoW raids.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd run out too soon.
Yeah.
But I do think that they like to be unexpected. And everyone was predicting, they're like, well, they did Black Rock Mountain and they
Please
did
do
this. So we think
Karazhan,
next
do
it's going to be this. And they just wanted to completely surprise us and be like,
It's
no,
more fun. It's
none
more
of
fun
what
to
you're thinking
innovate
is what
rather
we're
than
So
doing.
basically, LOE and TGT are like Star Wars expanded universe. It's like a book that never really
Yeah.
happened.
yes,
Sure.
exactly.
yeah, it's the same reality, but kind of like between these 2 points in time, there's no like actual lore written, so we're gonna write our own story there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
like-
go with
like
the next
Max
email.
Ramus and BlackRock set people up to think that they were going to be able to predict raids for every single adventure, that every single adventure was going to be a raid. And then when they did that, we were like, okay, now we don't even know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening next.
All right, I think
Which
we're
is
gonna
what
take
I'm
one
saying.
part of this next email and then we'll close the show because we went really haywall on that one, and that's like a PS note. So,
Yeah.
all right,
It's such a big question.
Andrew, why don't you read question 1 from Tin here?
All right, so Tin sent in a mother load of an email, which is exciting. We're
Thank
just gonna
you,
have to break it
by
up.
the way.
Yeah. But we will address it all. So he says, in a recent podcast, Eve mentioned that she dusted all of her druid cards because it either cost too much to craft the required cards needed or took too long to open them in packs. Do you feel that because of this issue, new players are more likely to not play classes like druid that require you to have a lot of epics and legendaries to be competitive? And real quickly, I'll say yes as a simple answer.
Right. That's
Yes.
a quick answer.
I mean, druid is so dependent on the combo. You want force of nature, so if you don't have it, you're not going to be quite as good. But we'll keep going here. In addition, you guys had a recent discussion talking about the best way to learn how to go up against certain matchups is to play the archetype itself beforehand. However, if certain classes are too expensive to get the right cards how can new players compete if they themselves do not own the cards or have any idea of the strengths and weaknesses of what they are facing? And I'll say, for a really quick answer on that, YouTube, Twitch. Watch.
Well, we
people
did talk
do-
about this briefly with Noxious, where he said
Yep.
that was a big problem with budget players, is that the best way to learn how to compete against these decks is to play them yourself.
Is to have the
So
resource
that
that you
is-
don't have.
Yes, exactly. He was talking about how Legend players create new decks, create new accounts, and then make it to Legend on just basic cards, and then saying, yeah, but that's because on their other account, they own all the cards.
And they've
they
played
all the
every deck
decks.
archetype, or
they
most
know
of them.
quality
Understand the
inside and
game in and
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So to say to a new player, oh, you can make it to Legend with your basic cards, not really actually true.
Yeah, you can't. No, I mean, not without any experience. And like that's
Yeah.
something like I did 1 month. Like 1 month, I was just like, I'm gonna make it to Legend without any cards from any adventures and no legendaries. And the only epic in the deck was Coghammer, and it was just like face Paladin, just like Shockedin, like old school, just like Smork, go face, flood the board, and then if they clear it, just pray that you have the divine favor. But I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like I think you're totally right, Eve. I don't think I would have been able to do that if it weren't for my knowledge of being able to play against the other decks.
And what I think is that probably Blizzard's okay with this because there are options for people who don't have a lot of cards like Face Hunter and Zoo, and like there are a lot of cheap options out there. So I think they're probably okay with the differences. Like there are some really expensive decks that you're not going to be able to own, and there's some really cheap ones that you are going to be able to own. And as long as there are a lot of different valid classes that can be played on ladder, then they're probably okay with the discrepancy of some people not playing because they don't have the cards. That
Yeah.
gives you incentive to buy the cards.
You're never
So
going
to
to
buy
learn.
decks.
You're never going to learn better than by actually going through the decision-making process yourself within the game. I remember it blew my mind one day when I realized all Hearthstone is learning how to make choices. Like that's all it is. So going through the steps of, this is my board, this is what I have in my hand, and actually making that decision, that's the best teacher that you have. But if you don't have the option of it, then watching somebody, who's actually explaining those choices and stuff, that's the only other option you have, and it's not as good, but it still can give you some of the tools you need to know, okay, this is what a combo druid player is thinking about in his head, this is what Secret Pally's thinking, that kind of thing.
This is what their win condition is. This is their optimal play for turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, Krups, what do you have to think about when you're on a given turn? Like, what do you feel like is the most difficult thing for new players to learn within this realm? Like, obviously we know that I think when people see a legendary, they're like, that's why I'm losing, right?
Yeah.
But that is kind of like a really basic end game scenario most of the time, in my opinion. And I feel like new players are really good at identifying that legendaries are meant to be win conditions and that they are things that they need to start taking notes on and realizing that those exist. But I feel like a lot of players don't realize that attrition is a thing, right? They don't realize that playing in the early game in your first 4 turns can actually dictate if you're going to win that match or not.
Yeah, so it's also like someone like attrition, it's like even aggro decks have that. So it's like
Right.
everybody's just like, oh, if I play Face Hunter, all I'm supposed to do is just go face. It's like, no, if you're playing against another deck that has early minions, you're spending the first 2-3 turns making trades. You're trying to pop your mad scientists and stuff, and or like trade up with your abusive sergeants. Where like I think a lot of players they just think, oh well, I'm just supposed to just like go face with this deck.
Right.
But I think the hardest thing is probably teaching a new player to always think about what is your opponent going to do on their next turn. You know,
And how can you mess that up or play better?
What can they do next turn, and then what can they do the turn after that? Or like, you know, if you're playing against Druid, you know, what's my life total? Like, it's like I can't be at 14 on turn 9.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I got to do something to like, you know, I need to heal my face or like I need to armor up here. You know, because on turn 9 they're going to kill me.
Reno at 15 health.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like.
I think that's the biggest difference between an average player and a legend player is an average player thinks about only their cards and what they're doing and maximizing their mana and their strategy. And the legend player is thinking about the other person and what they're doing and how they can best counter that and anticipate it and prepare for the best case scenario.
Yeah.
It's like chess,
And-
you got to be thinking like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, because like
steps
these
ahead.
players that don't have this kind of a resource are not only insufficient in what their resources that are available to them to start making good decisions and playing better, they don't even know the right questions to start asking to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
So
there's
like,
things that I don't see that other players. I remember I was playing. There's a guy named Teenage Key who's a Chinese player, really good player, really good ladder player, and we were on Skype one time, and he just saw something that was like totally crazy. Like it was like I was just like, well, don't we just make all these trades? And he was just like, well, no, because then he like swipes this minion, and then like no, then he's gonna attack like this, and then he's gonna swipe me. Like he saw something that was like 3 levels deeper than like what I even saw, and I
Right.
was just like, you know, it was just like, well, if he has the swipe, he's gonna attack like this, and then he's gonna clear my board, and then like lo and behold, the guy had the swipe the next turn, but
he couldn't do it because he played
he
better.
still kept 2 minions on the table. So, you know, there are like things that are things that are really difficult to see sometimes.
Okay, let's go into our iTunes review. Andrew, why don't you tackle this, my friend?
Yeah. Indian coffee. Indian coffee.
That's a great name.
Him. From USA. Says, buff your game. A must listen with real practical and, yes, useful advice.
What?
Thank you.
I'm glad it is all of those things. Thank you.
We
so
always
much.
like to hear that.
That's
So
good.
we're helping people out.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Indian Coffee.
Thank you for your review. We appreciate that.
And if you want to send me some Indian coffee, I will drink it. Okay.
Oh man, and tune into the visual next week, man. See Andrew actually drink his coffee.
I will drink the Indian coffee, and it will be. This is weird. I don't even know.
All right, Eve, why don't you tell people how they can get involved in the show since they're so awesome already and we want to get involved with them? What can they do?
Well, you can give us an iTunes review just like Indian Coffee did.
Hype.
You can share us with your friends, chat with us on Twitter, support us on Patreon, play Hearthstone with us, play Destiny with me, request a hoach. A hoach?
She fused host and coach at the same word, so we're going to start calling our
Host.
coaches hoaches.
Nice.
Get a hoach today.
Short form. Request a hoach to coach you through your Hearthstone plays. Email the show. We love to read your questions on the show and answer them as best as we can. And yeah.
That's cool. Thank you guys for sending in your emails. Even if they are multi-tiered, we'll get there. And we will go on tangents, and we will address the PSs of all of those things. So be careful what you write. Special thanks to KRUPS for showing up and for fighting through God knows what happened to that computer this week.
Registry errors.
Yeah. So
It's every time.
we are blessed by your Dalaran presence, as it were. And thanks for visiting Exodar with us today. I'm going to go through a couple more things, and then we'll let you know how you can find us before you can find KRUPS. So you can find us on Twitter, or Velen's Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Velen's Chosen Podcast. You can find us on my Twitch channel every week at 11 a.m. from now on until I figure out how to change stuff onto a Velen's Chosen Twitch. And the Twitch is twitch.tv/notrobmay. You'll see us there. You can email us, like Eve was saying, Velen's Chosen Podcast. Our website is routed to velenschosen.posthaven.com, but if you type in Velen's Chosen podcast or velenschosen.com, you'll find it. We're on RSS and Stitcher, so if you share the show, you can tell people, hey, if you got Android, you got iTunes, doesn't matter, you can still see it. If you like esports here and you want to play against other people for coins, aka some currency and bet, we have a 5,000 coin bonus that you can get. So if you sign up, Esports Hero will throw you 2,500 coins, and you can get 5,000 more just by typing in Velen's Chosen 15. So use that code and have a lot of fun. This is how you can find KRUPS. KRUPS, where are you at?
I am at twitch.tv/Krupstone, it's KRUPSSTONE, and then on Twitter, I am KRUPS, like literally, I am KRUPS.
I am.
I am KRUPS on Twitter.
All right, and KRUPS, you do coaching, right?
I do coaching.
So you can find him at his email in the show notes. I'll make you guys do the legwork to find him for coaching, but
Yeah,
he does
and then
charge, but he's a good coach. So
There is information on that on my Twitch as well.
Yep. All right,
Yeah, if you
Andrew.
go there, you can find everything, actually.
Yeah. Twitch is a great resource for finding KRUPS' stuff there. So, Andrew, where can people find you, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter at Andrew is Living. Find some arena tips on YouTube at Banaka Freak, or add me on BattleNet. Andrew is Live, number 1973, and I will watch you play, and I will tell you what to do, and I will say you messed up, and you'll be like, no, and then you'll win, and I'll be like, dang it. That's how it'll go down.
Best hoach in A.
Oh boy.
All right, Eve, let's reel this in. Where can people find you?
I think the sun is finally coming up over here.
All right.
Yay, Canada.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Finnovar, FHINNOVARR, on Twitch as Eve Martin, and on BattleNet.
All right,
Play
if you
Destiny.
want to find me anywhere and everywhere, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the same tag at NotRob. You can find me on Facebook at NotRobMedia. I do some photos, I do some design stuff. I made the stream from scratch, sort of, and you can hire me out and stuff. I also work for Tuesday Night Hype with doing some graphics for Vicious Syndicate, so I'm going to throw them a little bone in this episode. Go check them out. They have weekly open tournaments every Tuesday night. KRUPS is participating in those fairly regularly.
Yeah, shout out to Tuesday Night Hype.
So go
if you're interested in getting into more competitive stuff, that is a very good place to start, and you can find them on strivewire.com.
Exactly. Yep. You can add me on BattleNet. I had to do some purging this week, so if I lost you, you might want to go double check because I had to add some people for casting. But you can find me at Twick, TWIK, hashtag 1198. You can find me on Steam, so I can go and crush KRUPS on some Rocket League at Sir Twick. And then you can find the stream at NotRobMay on Twitch. So thank you guys for joining us. Not all who wander into burnout are lost. And thanks for visiting Exodar this week. We had a pleasure with the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us on our very first live show, you guys. And
Thanks again, KRUPS.
Yeah, thanks, KRUPS.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So
Thank
job's
you.
done. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.
Take this time to consider your past deeds.
Andrew, what are you doing?
Questions. You had your chance. Did I miss it?
All right, we're clear.
I was trying to remind you not to talk because the
That's all
Like,
good.
can't they see us though? Like, can't they see you going like?
Yeah, but it's going to go to
Everything.
audio. That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, guys. That
Good
was
show.
one heck of a show.
It's a good show.
Chat room, you guys are awesome. You lit up like 4th of July. Jeez.
We even got some Pog Champs in there. That's how you know you do. Oh, and Dan
Stop
There
asking
is.
questions. Dan's game.
Yeah.
That's part of the intro and outro, KRUPS. If you've listened to the show, we have the soundbite from Mysterious Challenger's attack animation.
Yeah.
So,
I like
Man.
the, did I miss it?
yeah.
You think that Mysterious Challenger is a reference to Pokemon? Like a Mysterious Challenger has appeared?
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, drop the mic!
Yeah.
KRUPS out!
Yeah, I'm the only one who's ever brought this up to anyone.
But his stuff would like say something about it, wouldn't it? Or
What's his flavor text say?
Oh, dude, I
Here,
have to
I
look
got
this
it.
up.
I got it.
Mysterious.
He may sound surly and antisocial, but he's actually just really shy.
Dude, but that sounds like Gary from Pokemon to me.
You know what they should have made as attack animation? It should have been "Smell you later."
There you go.
Straight up quote from Blue, man.
But like, does that describe the personality of like your rival in like the original Pokemon?
Yeah, Secret Palities are kind of douche canoes towards you, so they would fit the
feel
bill.
Well, usually, like with Dr. Boom, like I know he has something in his flavor text that's kind of pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
It had the
Marvel
ice
is
howl
nice.
sound.
So I feel like there would be something like that, like Gotta Catch 'Em All, or I don't know.
Dude, I would love to see a Pikachu reference card. That would be dope.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity, though, if it wasn't, because
Opportunity wasted.
Mysterious Challenger. Oh man.
Yeah.
A mysterious challenger approaches.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it could also actually be a reference to Smash.
Oh, that's it. No, you're right.
Smash
Challenger
Bros does that
approaches?
when you unlock a new
Yeah,
character.
it does.
Yeah.
Dude,
It could
this
be
is
a
not a
reference.
blooper reel today, my friends. This is mind-blowing endgame card right here.
Yeah. It could be a reference to Smash.
By the way, speaking of Smash, I played Ryu and I've played Cloud, and they are freaking crazy in Smash Bros.
Are they really?
Dude, Ryu is like freaking broken. He plays like a faster version of Ike with like less reach.
Okay, I'm gonna stop
not
my
fair.
Audacity.
All right.
I have not
yeah.
played
Oh, okay.
Smash Brothers since the GameCube version.
Dude, the Andrew and I are playing one that's from what's it called?
3DS.
3DS, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
I-
really
I-
good, huh?
I just got a 3DS for Christmas from my wife, mainly because I didn't want a generation of Smash to go by and me not
Play it.
Yeah.
play
You
it
don't
at
own a
all.
Wii
you know?
U? Oh.
No, I would rather have it on Wii U, obviously, but it was like, well, like I just don't I don't play my PC nearly as much as I used to. I'll play Hearthstone on my phone 90% of the time, you know, just because it's accessible. So 3DS is another like, well, I'm just here on the couch, you know, we're watching something, I can play that, you know.
I would love them to have some sort of like app store that Nintendo could start making so they could get games like Hearthstone onto that. Because like having that touchscreen, playing a Hearthstone on a 3DS XL would be actually really fun with a stylus.
It'd be interesting.
I got a little tired of my children kicking my butt at Smash Brothers, so yeah, I quit playing
I
that.
think that they're planning on porting Hearthstone to the Xbox eventually.
Oh, to
Are they
their app
really?
store.
Really?
I remember reading something at some point about how like Blizzard said that like console versions weren't off the table. You know,
Whoa.
I definitely think it.
you could play with the Kinect. You could like move the cards around. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
Let's know
definitely
if this
don't
guy's
think it
host
would
had
be
that video
out of the
using the
question.
Force to play
Dude,
Hearthstone. See that?
Xbox Connect with freaking... That would be nuts to be like, take this card and move it over there.
Wait, have
Yeah,
guys
did you
seen
watch
that?
this guy's toast doing that?
It was hilarious.
Yeah, let's see right here,
Pick it-
August 19th
pick it up,
on
Pick it
GameSpot.
up.
Blizzard wants to support Hearthstone for 20 years. Talks console version of Hearthstone.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that they would have to at least consider it just because it's another market for
Oh, yeah.
them. And
Can you
like,
imagine them doing
Well, I
that in
think
a
it's in the
virtual
plans,
reality
right? 'Cause
space?
They started out just on PC, and then they had iPad, and they had iPhone.
What if they
Yeah.
put it like the three-dimensional like immersion? You could like sit down at the board and like
Yeah.
that would be so dope. You have like you're like across from like Garrosh Hellscream himself.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
like
next gen.
that was the when they unveiled the Microsoft HoloLens, when they were like showing like people play Minecraft with the HoloLens. The first thing I thought was like, this would be awesome with HS. Like I get to like reach and draw my card and like, you know, that would be like really good.
Cards and put 'em down.
I
So
actually
that
think it would look dope if it was more like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I don't know if you guys have watched the games
Yeah.
unfold like in real life, but like for instance, a discover mechanic, the three cards would like literally appear huge in front of you, and you
Yeah.
could see them, but your opponent can't. and then you
Yeah.
can just like touch them,
That would be really
and then your
Yeah, that
hand
would
would
be
just
sweet.
float in front of you, and you would just go like you would like push this one down on the board, and it would just go like, and then drop on. Oh, it's so dope.
Yeah, like a VR version of HS would be cool.
Oh, I'm nerding out
That'd
so
be
hard right now.
amazing.
That's how I started in games was Yu-Gi-Oh. It was like I played that
Okay.
every day.
I played Pokemon before I played Magic when I was a kid. I don't think I ever played it right though. I was just like 12.
Yeah, I did too.
just-
Oh no, I didn't either. Yeah.
I
just
just
had
like the
cards.
cards. They were cool. I still have them in my room.
Nice.
All right, KRUPS.
Yeah.
So much, thank you. Like,
Oh no, it was
this is
super
great.
fun. Yeah. No, it was super fun, and I felt like the discussion flowed like naturally. You know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was good. Super good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to have you
I
come
think it
back
worked really
sometime on a different topic, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever, man.
Well,
I
we're
want to
only
get-
gonna bring you on when we burn out, and we're
When
gonna
you burn out,
we need
and I'll
KRUPS to
give you
take
like
us out
more
of this.
shoddy advice. Like,
Oh man.
I think it was
Yeah.
good. I think it was some good stuff we talked about.
I just remind myself that no other games just really interest me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, even if I wanted to go, like, I'd just be like, what am I gonna do?
All right, I think we're gonna shut off the stream so you guys can go catch the VODs later. Stream, you guys are awesome.
Thank
even
you
if
for
you're
watching.
tuning in
Thank
late.
you for typing. Thank you for commenting.
Oh, we're still streaming? I didn't know we were still streaming. I didn't say anything crazy, did I?
No.
Okay.
It's all over the bloopers.
Other than that one thing that is gonna get you fired, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one thing. Yeah.
other than that, you're good.
All right, we'll end on that note. See you, stream.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go get